So one of the interesting customs that has developed on Chanukah is to play with a little toy. In Hebrew it's called a sivivon, and in Yiddish or in German it's called a dreidel. And basically the dreidel is, we have to do some graphic what the dreidel looks like, but it's basically something that has four sides, and on each side is written another letter. There's a nun, a gimel, and a hey, and a shin, which stands for an acronym for Nes Gadol Hayasham. A great miracle happened there. And in Israel, instead of the word sham, instead of the shin, there's a pei, which is Nes Gadol Hayapo. A great miracle occurred here. Now this is a very interesting toy, and that's played on Chanukah. The origin is a little bit obscure. We're not really certain of the origin. There's a tradition that this is a toy that the kids played with on during the Roman occupation of Israel. There's no historical evidence of that, but that's part of the tradition. It's an interesting toy because this toy also is related to a German toy that was played. And the way this game is played is that if you win, if it lands on the nun, you get nothing, and the gimel you get the whole pot, and hey you get half, and shin you put in. And actually that corresponds to the letters, which in Yiddish, which is a variation of German, which is nicht, which means nothing. If it falls on nun, and a gimel is ganz, which means everything, that you receive everything. Hey is halb, which means half, so you receive half the pot. And shin is shtalarayim, which means put in. But there's, as everything, even though this is just a custom, as everything, there's deeper Kabbalistic understanding of this toy as well. And the nun gimel hey shin, the same letter formation, appears in the Torah when it speaks about Jacob sending in his son, about to journey into Egypt and to meet his son Joseph. It says Ves Yehuda shalach of Goshna, that he sent Yehuda to go in front of him into the city of Goshna. So the word Goshna, which is the city of Goshen, has the word Gimel Nun Shin Hey, which Goshna is Nun Gimel Hey Shin, has the same four letters. So Yehuda, which obviously, if you're familiar a little bit with the Chanukah story, the idea of Yehuda is connected with Yehuda Maccabee, who ends up becoming the great one who creates the revolt and leads the Jewish army. Yehuda, and Chanukah is also related to the idea of Haidah, which is to give thanks. Yehuda, Shalach Lefanav Goshen, Yehuda goes into Goshen. Now, Mitzrayim, the idea of Mitzrayim is exile. So the sending of Judah into Goshen somehow breaks the possibility of exile and allows them to exist within exile and still not get sunk into the concept of exile. So the Medrash, and Rashi brings this down in the commentary, is that Yehuda goes down to establish a yeshiva. So let's understand what this idea of Nun Gimel Hey Shin really means. So when you have the Nun Gimel Hey Shin, they could be an acronym for Nefesh, which is spirit. Gimel is Guf, which is body. Shin is Sechel, which is intelligence. And Hey is Hakol, which is everything. So you have body, spirit, intelligence, and everything. These are four existential realities that we have. One is our body. We have a body, we have a spirit, we have our soul, we have our mind, and then we have the combination of all these three. Now if you take the dreidel itself, what you're doing is that there's four sides, so each side represents a boundary. The definition of a box, a square, is that things are squared in. So this definition means that there's a clear definition of the limitation of that. So if you take Nun Gimel Hey Shin, which represents body, spirit, mind, and ontological, existential, full reality, these represent the four constrictions that we can experience internally and that are externally imposed on us. These four collectively correspond to the four great exiles. Traditionally there are the four great exiles, which is the Babylonian exile, the Persian exile, the Greek Assyrian exile, and the Roman exile. These four exiles were predominantly focused on another aspect of these four letters. The Babylonian exile was the exile that was the destruction of the first temple. That broke the spirit of the people. The second exile was the Persian exile, the story of Purim, which was the desire to the annihilation of the physical body, which corresponds to Guf, the body. The third exile, which is the Greek exile, which is the story of Chanukah, which is the Greeks, was the Hellenization of ancient Israel, is the mind. That's Sechel or Pov, philosophy. And the hey, existential, is the Roman exile, which is everything. It's a totality. It's a hodgepodge of all types of concepts of exile, of restrictions. This is just on an external level, but then we have to really understand how this works internally. Internally, there are certain limitations that we put upon ourselves, and we impose upon ourselves, and we say these are our limitations. So we'll say, I have a body, and I can do a certain amount of things, but my body doesn't allow me to do this. I would love to do this mitzvah. I would love to keep Shabbos. I would love to do this. I would love to do that, but just my body doesn't allow me to do that. Or my spirit doesn't allow me. I don't feel spiritually connected. I can't. I feel like a hypocrite. I shouldn't really be doing these things. Or my mind, I can't really wrap my mind around this idea. I still don't grasp it well. And the truth is, the more we subscribe to our own limitations, and the more we convince ourselves that these limitations are real, the more we actually end up living them. When you believe in your own limitations, you create those limitations for yourself, and that's your exile. We box ourselves in. That's the idea of a dreidel that's standing. We create boundaries. We say, I only have a certain amount of strength. I can't do this more. I can't think about this. It's way beyond me. I can't feel it. It's way beyond me. These are the limitations that you put upon yourself. That's constriction. That's exile. Then we take the dreidel and you give it a spin. And what you do when you take something and you spin it, when you spin something that's square, it becomes round. So there's no longer a definition. The nun now exists on the other side, and the other side, and the other side, very quickly spinning around. We're taking something that's square and we're rounding it. When you take something that's round, there's no beginning and there's no end, which really deeply means there's no longer limitation. The limitations that we thought actually exist, a body, is no longer there. The limitation that existed in spirit is no longer there. It's not that that the simple turning of the dreidel actually creates that, but it's the meditation, the kavanah, the intention that we're having now is just saying Chanukah represents the miraculous. In a time of miracle, everything is possible. Most of the things that are holding us back in our life are self-imposed. They're not actually real. These are things that we've created images from our parents or from our upbringing. We've created images of who we are as people, what are our limitations, then we subscribe to them, then we live them out. Chanukah tells us, live the miraculous. Spin out all your squareness. Anything that has limitations, anything that has boundaries. First of all, nothing is actually square. What was one time is on the right side, and a moment later can be on the left side. That's a gagol achazah. Things are turning. So nothing is ever square. And besides that, if there is something square, there is some type of limitation, break yourself out of that. Believe in the possibility of creating the miracle, and the miracles would occur. And this is why there's a deeper kavanah, a deeper intention. Even when we spin the dreidel, it's really connected with the consciousness of Chanukah, the possibility of creating miracles in our life, and not subscribing to the limitations and the concealments that we experience.